What's good, guys? Aishi here. I am pretty much done with this Diablo season. It was a pretty decent season, honestly. You saw me putting out rogue videos and all that stuff, and I had my fair share of fun. So I know a lot of you guys are asking about the Heartseeker stuff in particular, and I'm just gonna run through my build real quick on that. We'll do it like how the greats did before me, like Riparian. We will do everything in one take. I'll walk you over the skills, the Paragon points, the aspects and decision making on all that stuff, and then we can probably do a lot. Yeah, let's do a live gameplay demo of it because the rogue inside D4 is a pretty combo based class, so we're gonna have to find out how exactly everything ticks. Let's see. The shell of this build, that when my friend first linked it to me, it was from Mobilytics by someone named Sanctum. But since then, and I've linked it in my previous videos, but since then I think I've changed the build enough that it's not really as similar anymore. Maybe the aspects, but everyone runs that, and then the Paragon points, the skeleton of it is the same, except for changing one glyph and one board. But we'll get to that. Okay, the build revolves around Heartseeker, our basic skill. Basic skills this season are really strong. You see your Wind Shear Druids, you see your Bar Bashes, and Heartseeker in particular is because, one, well, it's homing, it's pretty nice. There's a lot of default scaling on it, like you see attack speed, double attack speed here. You see it scales into ricochets, and there's also crit chance on it, but the lucky hit chance is really high. Hits twice, and that's really all you need, because the biggest thing, the bulk of our damage comes from this node here called Victimize. And Victimize, one, scales with most of your vulnerable damage, and two, it's a lucky hit proc. So let's say, for example, you have 100% lucky hit. I believe this has a 50% chance to cause an explosion. And you have 200 lucky hit, this has a 100% chance, which is like something the Shadow Step version does. But the main reason is because Victimize, it double dips. It scales twice. So it scales the initial hit of what you hit the enemy with, and then it activates Victimize, which will then hit for the enhanced hit, right? So it's like, let's say you have 50% vulnerable damage, you hit the enemy for that increased amount, and then the Victimize hits for the increased base plus another vulnerable amount. So we'll go through the tree here. I run a couple variants of this final skill here. This is the core here that you're going to see. It'll be Heartseeker as our main damage skill. And then it goes down this path here to get Ricochet, because the Ricochet can also, it'll also hit the enemy again. And it's one good for clearing too, which is better for bossing. Let me take off my Shako for now, because this will be a lot easier to see. We take points inside. This is utility points here. Shadow Step is spec'd into, usually, this one for movement speed, or not movement speed, yeah, movement speed and getting around. This one here is Caltrops, is also going to be the bulk of our damage, because we have a lot of damage taken multipliers with traps, and that gets spec'd into the crit chance here, because as you can see, enemies take increased damage from Caltrops. So what does that mean? It means that it'll scale the initial hit, and then it'll also scale the Victimized proc as well. We take Dash, that's our movement skill, that also increased crit damage here. We take Smoke Grenade. This one's just good for general clearing, and it also goes up again during boss stun phases. The bulk of the defense is a Dark Shroud. I think you guys know that from Rogue already. Exploit and Malice, a lot of these damage taken modifiers here, or multiplicative damage. Here is Freeze bonus from Frigid, and we take Haste for some extra move speed, and then there's Victimize. Now, some variants. Conceal is taken if you want another Unstoppable. It's just generally good for moving around, etc. It is a Unstoppable, gives you movement speed, you can run through enemies. It's pretty nice for general clearing. I like taking Invigorating Strike, because when you spec down this path, it gives you 16% lucky hit chance, and that's direct damage, and it's actually really fast. So you can weave it in between your auto attacks if you need to. Mostly as like a boss. Yeah, mostly as like a boss or elite bursting tool. It only lasts 3 seconds, and you could probably temper it to get like a higher percentage, a higher duration too, which I have thought about, but Master Wrecking sucks, so that's on the table. What else? You can flip between Dark Shroud. You can flip between the crit strike and the movement speed. It really depends what you want. And then I've also seen people take Shadow Clone. Now the reason is because inside bosses, sometimes when you're bursting through a DPS phase when they're knocked down, the 5 seconds of Unstoppable is actually a really nice safety net for bursting the boss, because let's say you get like knocked back or you get stunned by one of the snake eyes, then you lose your big DPS phase. And a lot of the buildings of this game, especially this one, it scales around stagger burst, right? Because you only have three, I think so. You only have 3 staggers on the boss before it gets into DR, and it takes like 30 seconds to stagger the boss again. So you really want to get as much damage as you can out of those 3 staggers, which means set up your entire combo. It means that you want to make sure you have Shadow Step on them for the crit chance. You make sure that you want to have Caltrops on them for the extended duration, so it goes up to the maximum amount of damage taken. You make sure that you want to dash through them so that you have the crit damage more modifier on it. And you want to make sure that you are standing still for your inner calm, which we'll talk about aspects in a second. And you also want to make sure that if you do run it, to have Invigorating Strikes up as much as possible. So that does it for the skill tree and the general concept behind the build, right? If you're clearing, you probably don't really care too much about all this stuff unless there's like a nicely packed set of elites that you can burst down. But you should generally be strong enough when you start getting the gear to like just clear things pretty fast because of all the homing and permanent CC. But when bossing, it becomes a little bit more nuanced. I think you'll find that you're going to be struggling on bosses a little bit more than the trash. I don't know. So, aspects. We, like I mentioned before, I don't remember if D4 crashed earlier, and I don't remember if I mentioned this, but again, the shell of this build was some Sanctum, a build by Sanctum on Mobalytics. But it's been, I've diverged since then, but that was like the general shell of the build. Okay, we have Shaco here because one, a lot of our damage is, well, I don't need to explain how good Shaco is, but in general, it's the plus ranks to their Dark Shroud, which is really, really strong returns for every point of skill that you want inside it, and you'll see in a second. And points to Heartseeker, and in general, it's just Shaco. What else can I say? If you don't have one, I ran I disenchanted at this point. A lucky hit helmet. Let's see if I have one of these here. Yeah, something like this. Greater Ethics lucky hit, and then you just try to see if you can hit it there. And you also get the might aspect as well, because it's not unique, right? So you have an extra 20% DR, which kind of mimics the Shaco's anyways, 20% DR. On the chest, you're mostly looking for the Dark Shroud numbers, because let's just take a look here. So we have Dark Shroud. It is, let me just put on my bar for a second. 13.2% per active shadow. That's a lot. That's, what, 66%? Something like that? And if I take off all the skill points from it, -4, -5, -9 skill points, it goes down to 96%. So that is well over 15% more DR, right, in total. And the more DR you have, the stronger it is. So that is where Rogue gets a lot of its insane tankiness, from the skill points inside Dark Shroud. And if you notice, it's my chest is fucked up. It used to have it. But a lot of these armors are tempered with either stun or freeze on hit, because one, we have a lot of lucky hit, so it ramps up the stagger like crazy, and two, it's just generally good for clearing and general safety, and also boss burst. And these stuns and freezes are combined with shared misery on boots for you to proliferate that status effect. I'd like to have stun and freeze and everything. My chest unfortunately bricked because temporary fucking sucks. But nothing much you can really do about that. At least the slow has a high a high proc rate for boss stagger, I guess. But anyways, so helmet, lucky hit, life dex, etc. Maybe your resistances, armor. Chest, life dex, resistances if you need it, dark shroud. Gloves, main stat you're looking for is lucky hit. Vulnerable is probably next, then maybe attack speed is what I'm guessing. Try to temper it with vulnerable as well, and then the CC temper on lucky hit. But again, if you notice all the gear, you're looking for the lucky hit greater affixes. Pants, major DPS slot, you're looking for Heartseeker. The greater affix +4 is pretty expensive. I think I paid like 30. No, I paid 275 mil for mine, and then it took maybe another like 100 mil to get 2 hits of master working on it. But that's going to contribute to a lot of your damage, because Heartseeker doesn't really have too many ways to scale its damage. You really have, yeah, I'd say you really have all your vulnerable damage, some crit, and then the Heartseeker levels here. So that's really all you have. Maybe there's a way to quantify it. So we have 15 out of 5, dealing 58% damage. If I take this off, how much is it? 58% goes to 43%. That is a lot. It's over 20% more damage. So yeah, that's really necessary. On boots, it's just move speed. If I had a better optimization on my resistances, I would roll a dodge chance on this. I used to have it, but my armor fell a bit short because I had to give up some resistances somewhere. And I didn't roll an all stat res on my pants, so I just tossed my armor here. But yeah, this is more of a utility slot. The bow, you are looking for vulnerable on it, and then temper vulnerable. I've used crossbow before. It isn't that great because it's a little bit slow, and you really scale really well with attack speed, especially because 1, you need to ramp up Moonrise, and 2, you really want to stagger the boss, so the attack speed really feeds into the stagger. I forgot to mention, Undying on the pants. I think I've seen some people run Might on here, but I think Undying is just better, especially if you want to combat against poison. And then you'll see a common theme in all these aspects is that you're looking for more modifiers, looking for CC stagger, right? You're looking for damage when dazed, damage when stunned, right? I think there's retribution on here as well. Somewhere, right? It's like 30% more damage when stunned, 20% more damage when dazed, right? All these really scale together well, because again, it's not only multiplying the initial hit, but also the victimized proc. All right, we have here, that was the bow, and then I tempered on, there's 2 ways that you can temper it. I've seen double temper Heartseeker on the daggers. I just put on the bow here because I just wanted one spot here. But for the weapon tempers, you're looking at, and these are all the same, right? It's dex damage vulnerable. You can have life instead of, you can have life here as well, just because you want to be a bit more tanky. But yeah, the general idea is that you want your vulnerable damage on it, right? And then you want as close to 100% Heartseeker projectiles as you can. And then the Caltrops duration and AoE will be your utility slot. Because if you remember from Caltrops, the enemies in Caltrops take 10% increased damage from you, 5% each second, up to 75. So that means that the enemy needs to be inside Caltrops for, what is that, 13 seconds. So you better have duration on it, IMO, right? And I don't think AoE is as necessary, but the Caltrops duration, it doesn't need to be masterworked on. But at least having Caltrops duration, I think mine lasts for about 20 seconds. That is the ticket to being able to shred through bosses. All right, amulet, big power slot. I've seen people ask if they can use the Melted Heart of Selig, but the damage on the amulet slot is too much to give up. I think it's basically night and day. You are looking for Malice and Exploit generally, because those are like big more modifiers, but this is like one of my early game amulets with lucky hit chance, and then I just smashed the hell out of it on the enchants to get +2 Malice, and I called it a day there. Generally, you'd rather have more Malice. I think even Frigid Finesse is probably better than lucky hit chance, right? So it goes Malice, then Exploit, then Frigid. And I think those are the big 3. Oh, Weapon Mastery as well, they're also looking for. So mostly the plus passives. But this has lucky hit chance on it, and that's totally fine with me. it wasn't much to say there. So you also make sure that you have these basic skill modifiers, right? Adaptability and Moonrise on here. Rings, lucky hit chance, attack speed, crit if you can, vulnerable damage, agility reduction. Then here we have one roll of lucky hit vulnerable to make sure that you have uptime on the boss. But in general, same stats, right? Crit chance, lucky hit chance, attack speed. Vulnerable on here, and that really does it for about the gear. Right, we go to Paragon tree. I won't go too much in depth, or I'll be here all day. I'll go through the glyphs and the boards. Enemies take increased damage on traps. That's just big synergy with our build because, again, a lot of our scaling is from caltrops, which goes up to 75%. This just adds to it. We have physical damage on chip because you see physical, the additional bonus here. Physical damage increases the damage enemies take by 1% up to 10% for 15 seconds. So again, a lot of these taken modifiers that double dip. And we have exploit weakness. It's more vulnerable. It's a vulnerable more multi. One of the changes I had here was that I used a control glyph on here because there is a decent amount of intelligence around this surrounding node here on the no witnesses. And no intelligence here. And that scales a crowd control duration, which is really good for bursting bosses. If you're going into incredibly deep pits, you may see that crowd control fall off, but I think for general content, everything from Tormented to Uber Lilith, all your Ubers, one cycling pit 100 bosses, I really like the control node. This one here, this is a more of a utility slot with marksman's damage, which is our Heartseeker, and then the damage reduction taken. And what is the node here? Yeah, this is more of like a catch-all general use board because we do like attack speed. We need a little bit of help on our resistances because lucky hit and all the other damage affixes we have access to now really eat up a lot of resistances, a lot of affix slots, so the res there is nice. Damage to crowd control, again this is more crowd controlled enemies, damage more multis, some utility, and then finally deadly ambush, which is crit strike damage to trapped enemies, and then vuln damage on exploit here. So again, you see the common theme here, right? It's more mods when CC'd, trap damage, and some utility picked up here and there. So you kind of get the general gist of how these Paragon boards are going to go. And you're going to see all this CC come together when you're bursting bosses. Okay, what else do I ramble about next? We got our gear done. I had dexterity inside here just for a little bit more damage. Paragon tree done, skill tree done. Let's talk about actual gameplay. Remember that you have intercom on your boots, so don't stutter step too much. You totally can while clearing, it doesn't matter. Sorry, not boots. Where's our intercom? Here, intercom on a dagger. So make sure that you don't, when you're bursting bosses, don't move. You know, stay still. Make sure that it's set up before you stagger the boss, along with all the other debuffs, and you'll get, you know, big chunk of damage here, 30%. And again, all of your, let's head into a pit. Let's vibe through a 90. And I like popping Elixir of Advantage here. It's a little bit of attack speed, a little bit of lucky hit. That's all you need, really. Okay, so we go through our debuffs. We have Caltrops, sends you back. Dash sends you forward. Then we have Shadow Step, Smoke Grenade, and I forgot to take off Dark Shroud, so let me go do that real quick. But yeah, again, it's Shadow Step, Dash, Caltrops, Smoke Grenade. And all of those increase your damage in one way or another, including Invigorating Strike if you choose to take it, if you don't, you know, take Concealment. I find that the Invigorating Strike is a little min-max. I don't think you actually really need it unless maybe you're under-geared and you really want that boss one cycle. but concealment will cover you more often than not. Or shadow clone if you're having a lot of trouble repositioning on bosses. Let me throw in Invigorating Strike. There. That's good to get there. I think everyone does it in their own way, but again, you need to have everything down here, right? You need to have your caltrops down, hit them with dash, hit them with smoke grenade. Invigorating strikes is optional, and then shadow step on them for the increased crit chance. And you weave all of that together, and that should be your burst. When you're clearing, you can pretty much just shoot mobs down, right? The combination of your lucky hit plus the shared misery on the boots will pretty much perma CC everything. So you don't really need to deal with like too much. You can dash in and caltrop, right? Remember, I think caltrop removes your collision, so you don't need to deal too much with it. And the Dark Shroud's already procced by your Umbrus, so there isn't really much you need to do besides Heartseeker, especially when you get your damage up. Now here you see a juicy pack here, caltrops, dash through, smoke grenade if you need to, and they should blow up. If you ever see like a nice little pack of elites together, see if you can CC at least one of them, so that you can get that shared misery proc, get all the CC layered, and then just burst them all together. I like to play a little bit more aggressively when I'm clearing. Sometimes you kind of have to. When you see these suppressor mobs, sometimes you do need to jump in and kill them, right? That's usually what Shadow Step is for. Shadow Step on them, then you can, as long as caltrops are on them and they're ticking, you find a way to relocate through one of your various relocation skills, and you can burst them before they get un-CC'd. So a very casual clear here, right? We're pretty much walking, shooting. I know I said not to stutter step, but really for trash it doesn't matter. But you know, make sure you're shooting in front of you where you're going. Make sure you're CCing mobs as you're moving. Keep auto attacking to keep up that moonrise. And when you see openings for suppressors and elites, you know, take them. Everything really should be, once your lucky hits up, to be fair, all of your stun and freeze tempers on your gear starts paying off. And practically everything is perma CC. So again, it's, right, caltrops, dash, invigorating strike, smoke grenade, and burst. And we're going to be doing the same thing for the boss, except that it's going to be lined up with one of the stagger windows. Dash caltrops, smoke grenade, invigorating strike, burst. A couple ways to do it. I think the most important thing is to at least make sure that you get your caltrops plus one more, personally. And here you want to use one. You want to use a relocation once in a while, right? Because mobs start honing on your position. So after every couple of shots, it's always nice to move around. So here we'll do caltrops, dash, smoke grenade, and burst. And you see a suppressor somewhere here, right there. Here we'll shadow step on the suppressor to kill it, and then we'll clean up the elites. And we are at the Guardian. So we'll go through the whole combo again, right? So I'll stack up a little, caltrops first, because we have 2 stacks. Stack up a little bit of it, right? And then when this gets a little high enough, caltrops, dash, invigorating smoke, shoot. And then now, you're standing still, the boss is staggered, you're ramping up your damage, and there's the 1 cycle. Snag our elites. Alright, let's run through it one more time, but I think you guys got the general idea of the gameplay, what you should be looking out for, how you should be approaching packs, how you should be approaching bosses. Okay, Masterwork something. I was working on this, yeah. Yeah, like, even some of my gear isn't really masterworked, right? Not greater affix. Like this is just practically maxwell regular dagger. There's a lot of headroom. You just gotta make sure you get the important stuff right. Hitting those greater affix on your vulnerables. Excuse me. Greater affix on your Heartseeker. Shaco's busted. Your lucky hits. Lucky hits 88% with a elixir on. I had as high as like 98% with a lucky hit greater helmet. But Shaco is just way too strong defensively and offensively, of course. All right, well, let's get through one more run, and I think that's about all the rambling I'm going to do for this season. So yeah, in advance, thanks guys. I appreciate you guys enjoying my content. Right, I don't really make too much content these days, but it's really been fun just like reading comments with you guys. Sometimes you guys sit in game and we vibe, right? So I do appreciate that, and you know, hopefully I'll see you guys next season too. So there, again, priority is caltrops, because again we have so much damage when enemy is trapped. So as long as you get your caltrops off, you're gonna see those elites burst. And if you can hit them with any extra damage that you need to, that's just as good. Here, I'm going to shadow step towards the elites because I see suppressors on them. Here's a little cramp, so I'm going to use my Heartseeker to shoot around the corner. And if they want to come out and play, then we can do that. Because remember, caltrops last 13 seconds base. You don't need to be aggressive if you don't have to. So sometimes playing it safe is always like a very welcome way to do it. Especially on higher difficulties. See a suppressor there. The elites are right there, so let's play aggressive here. And again, you really feel when you land all your debuffs. You can see them just absolutely pop. Here, dash, caltrops, smoke grenade, burst. You don't always have to use your shadow step because that's also, if you use invigorating strikes, that is your only source of unstoppable. So sometimes it's nice to hold that. Where's the suppressor? It's on top of a nasty pack of mobs, so I'm going to make sure they're all stacked, right? I think you are rewarded for playing aggressive because the more you shoot, the more things are CC and the more things are spread with shared misery. And you really get all of those big, juicy, malice, frigid finesse, all those damage procs. So there's two suppressors here. I'll take care of the suppressors first, then I'll double back over to the elites after. A little scary there, but I jumped right into the flame proc. Jump over to these two suppressors here first, because these two spider elites down here are slow, and now we double back. Everything's CC'd, and we pretty much just clean up. Nope. I don't like teleporter elites. We'll take care of that. Jump over to the other elites. Full combo. And burst. Let's kill some of these suppressors. We one more elite pack, so we're just gonna go find it. Here you guys are. Quick combo. Ah! Oh, the lightning's a little scary, but yeah, it is what it is. Alright, let's end the boss. So here, caltrops first, start racking up that stun. When it's maybe about 75%, we do our stagger combo. Caltrops, dash, smoke step, invigorating strike, and burst. I see we're not getting too lucky on it. It looks like it'll be a 2-cycle, and then we'll do the whole thing again. Caltrops, dash, shadow step, invigorating strike. And here we have smoke screen this time for the burst. Not too bad. Clean 2 cycle. We... Oh, let's put this down. We played a little too aggressive with that one lightning elite, but goes to show, you know, even if your build's good, if you put yourself in a bad situation, like 3 elites in a corner and they're spawning lightning tendrils or whatever on you, you still die. Especially when you don't have things to hit and leech back with siphoning strikes. But yeah, I think I've rambled enough, guys. I hope you guys have a general idea of the build, my mindset when I'm playing, how to build scales, what affixes you should look for the most part, I guess. And yeah, I appreciate everything, guys. I'll catch you guys next season, probably. So feel free to leave a like if you guys want more. I play everything, like ARPGs. I do like PoE content, D4 content. So if you like what I see, some weeb shit here too. If you like what you see, feel free to like, sub, etc. And I'll catch you guys later. So this is Aishi, and good luck on your grind in D4.